boys and girls. Another day down at the shop. It's a little bit after 3. Kind of look like it's going to spit and rain today. Not really for sure, but it doesn't matter. We're going to be in the shop. So let's get down here, get everything opened up. Let's get to work. Rosie, what'd you find? Something? Did you find something? Huh? What's down there? Come on, let's go to work. Go in there and see if there's anything in there. Get them. Eat the robbers. Eat them. Good deal. All right. Let's get our day started. Let's knock this chill off a little bit. You know, this is the international sign for I hate winter. Fire up, old girl. There we go. There we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to the channel. Got another good episode for you today. You know, mediocre at best, not promising you anything. But we got to get going back on our boy Noisey Cricket over here. We have to get his new blower installed. But unfortunately, we've got to do a little bit of work first and do a little bit of investigating first to make sure we didn't do any damage. The engine's fine, but we need to check out the intake. The builder said it looked like there was an issue where he thought the intake may be leaning in the back corner, which was causing an issue with the blower to come out of time, which ultimately caused it to lock up. So we need to check on that real quick before we go any further to see if we have to have some intake work. And then we're going to get after it, right? Now, if you do remember, you know, it's been a few weeks now, but we went to Moparty. Noisey Cricket performed pretty well there, but he wasn't really building much boost, which was kind of odd. Didn't think nothing of it, you know, it was no big deal. We come home, parked him, and then the following weekend we had to go to Edgewater Raceway Park for a Burnout competition. Tested good here at the house, did just fine. We started him up on the trailer, just fine. Backed him off the trailer and the blower immediately locked up. And I mean, it locked up tighter than 2 coats of paint. So, you know, it is what it is. We pulled the blower, we shipped it out to R&P Blowers in Iowa. You know, big shout out to them. Go check them out. If you need any blower work, let them know BRG sent you. But anyway, let's quit talking about it. Let's be about it. All right, for those of you who've been here for a while, you know who Noisey Cricket is. For those of you that have just joined the channel, this is our 1980 Plymouth Volare Burnout car, officially known as Noisey Cricket. So anyway, like I was just saying, so his blower locked up there at Edgewater, and I just pulled the blower, covered the intake. I mean, as you can see, the gasket material and stuff is still on there. I didn't even bother to clean it. And then here's his parts over here on the table. You know, here's my riser so we can clear the distributor. You know, I'm had to clean all this gasket material off here and get this all dialed back in. I mean, everything else is fine. We didn't get much as far as metal shavings or anything anywhere. The blower just immediately locked up, spun the belt off. We had to hurry up and kill the engine, but yeah, it was nasty. But what we do have to do is we need to get all our studs out, get these removed, get this gasket removed, get this plane as dolphin smooth as humanly possible, and then we're going to straight edge it. You know, left, right, up, down, sideways, whatever. Make sure we're good to go. And if we are, which I think we're going to be fine, I just can't see it being out, but I mean, anything's possible, right? And then if we're good to go there, we're going to go ahead and get all this built back up. We'll run out here on the street, do a test burnout. And if he runs fine, we're going to put him right back here, let him run. We'll run all the fuel out of the line, get him bone dry. I got to do the same thing to Grim while I'm at it. So we're going to open all the doors, you know, get as much as we can save out of the fuel cells. And if not, we're going to run the systems dry, get them cleaned out. Because as you heard about Grim, we're going to put a blower on there. Probably going to switch him over to 110 rather than methanol. And then these two be put away for the winter. But anyway, you know, like I was saying earlier, you know, let's quit talking about it. Let's be about it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to Busted Radio Garage. All right, guys, let's shove a couple rags down here just to help catch anything that gets down in here. We're going to have to vacuum that all out anyway, because we do have some like microscopic little shavings from the blower. But first things first, we've got to check this intake before we do anything to make sure we don't have any damage. His concern was this corner right here. For some reason, felt that there was an issue to where there was some sag or was that a plane, which makes absolutely no sense to me, but I mean, I don't know, but we got to get it figured out. There's no sense in I mean, these blowers aren't cheap. Any of you who've ever priced a blower setup, you know what I'm screaming. But man, that Loctite ain't no joke. Come out of there. Definitely gonna have to clean these threads before we put these studs back. I know that. Yeah, look at all that Loctite. All right, guys, let me go ahead and get all these studs out, and I'll check back with you once we get to that point. All right, good grief. All right, let's get a razor blade. Let's get the rest of this gasket off here, and then we're gonna check this intake. All right, got a trash can. Dang it. Now we're good. Right, wow, perfect. Now remember, guys, I have rags down in here to catch some of this little stuff. Don't want anybody screaming at me through the screen. What are you doing? Good deal. One tip I will say is if you're putting rags down in your intake, remember you put them there, because I've left them down in there before and then started the engine and then the engine's no good anymore. Don't do what I do. I am an idiot. And if you've been here long enough, you've seen me fail big time. But that's the good thing about us here at BRG. I don't hide it. If I mess up, I own it. Who remembers that time I built the engine in Homer and forgot to put oil in it, and then started it, and then revved it up, and then went stupid with no oil in it and blew it up like, what, a minute later? Yeah, that was me, and I did it on video, but I share it with everybody. All right, let me get this fine stuff off here, and then we're gonna plane this intake, or not plane it, we're gonna check it and see like how dialed in it really is. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get a little more of this fine stuff off here. Get it as close as humanly possible. That way when we check it, you know, we're not deceived in any way. Because I'm gonna have to wire wheel this and clean it anyway before we put the new gasket on. Yeah, she's getting there. This is just like residual silicone, but I wanna make sure it's as perfect as we can get it. All right, let's wire wheel the rest of it off here real quick. All right, guys, there we go. It doesn't get much cleaner than that. I mean, got all the gasket removed, got everything out, got it wiped down. So let's go ahead. I got a piece of square stock over there or a straight edge of some sort. Not I can get a level. And let's go ahead and check this, but I don't see any indication whatsoever of this thing being out. But hey, you never know. Let's find out. All right, I've got a straight edge and a square around here somewhere, but can't find it. So I'm just gonna test it with this piece of square tubing. Not I can get a level. I don't see any type of bow or an indication of a bow. I mean, it looks fine. I need to check it this way. Let me get something shorter. See if I can get it in here like so. I mean, it looks fine. I'm not sure what it could have been he's talking about. I know he did say that the casting of the blower looked like it was too hot when it was manufactured. That could have been an issue. Also, the company I bought it from, not to sound terrible, but a bunch of douchebags. I will never, ever, ever, ever buy anything from them again. They know that. I've told them that personally on the phone over this intake, if I'm being honest with you. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. So that looks good enough to me. So let's go ahead and get back to work and quit being so negative. I mean, why am I being that way? All right, guys, I got you moved over here to the workbench. So the next project is we've got to get this 2-inch spacer cleaned, and it is nasty. And then I got to thinking we probably ought to go ahead and check this plane on this as well, because technically this sits on the intake and then the blower sits here. So this may have an issue. I seriously doubt it, but we're going to check it either way. I mean, it's a 1/2 inch thick, you know, by 2-inch piece of billet aluminum. But, you know, again, anything can happen. So let's go ahead and get this wire wheeled up, cleaned, dialed in, and then we'll go ahead and start getting into gaskets and getting things mounted. Got us another delivery, boys and girls. Let's go see what we got. All right, guys, we got us a delivery. I have a feeling what both these are, but we're gonna open them together. These should be our blower gaskets. So let's find out. I love deliveries, love them. Let's see. Oh, got a Summit sticker with the other 2,000 of those we got. There we go. SCE blower gaskets, the only gaskets I use. They are not sponsored, but they've always done it good. So got those. Now, this should be Noisey Cricket's blower back. Let's see if there is an invoice in here, and I'd say probably a keeper. Let's see what we got. I don't want to rip it. My accountant, AKA the girls, would probably kill me. Yeah, we're gonna hold on to that one. All right, let's see our blower. That'd probably help if I cut it. Oh, lovely. What do we got? He sent on my phone back. That was awesome. R&P Blowers. Any stickers? Sent me a Supercharger kit. Let me get you in here. All right, so he sent me a kit. I guess how to put it back together. Let's see what we got. Ha, he put one of his stickers on my blower. Well, I guess if I blow it up, I know where to send it back to. Oh, yeah. Ooh, I don't know what happened there. Oh, silicone. I was like, man, good deal. All right, let me get this unboxed, and we're going to get it over there, and we're going to get it on the car. Sweet. All right, guys, we're all cleaned up, ready to go. Everything turned out nice on this. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. So I say we go ahead and take this over there, get some gaskets, and let's install a blower. All right, guys, first things first, let's go ahead and get this intake vacuumed out. Make sure there's nothing in there. It'd be a bummer if we suck something up in there now. All right, guys, we got our intake all cleaned out, dialed in, and ready to go. Our spacer's all cleaned up, ready to go, and then obviously the blower's sitting over there on the lift. And then the remainder of the parts we need for this whole adventure is sitting right here. So I'm gonna get you set up. We're gonna get this blower built, and we'll go from there. Let's get after it. I wish these stacks weren't in the way, but I'm just too lazy to take them off. All right, guys, so the first thing we gotta do is we gotta get our studs back in. So we're gonna Loctite all these up with blue Loctite and get them installed. There's one. Whoa, wait a minute, I got two long ones in here. I've done screwed up on me. Hold on. All right, there's my two long ones. I'm ready to get this car done and get back on Grim, but I don't want to rush the job, right? I want it to be right. And then we're getting started on Grim's blower. And then I've got to get to heading to Tennessee. I got to go pick up another car or two. But again, right? It's kind of like when you were a kid. You couldn't go play until you got your chores done. Well, right now, and I know this sounds terrible, but this is technically one of my chores right now. I got to get it done. So let's get these studs in and we'll go from there. All right, guys, we got all our studs in with blue Loctite. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe all this excess Loctite off. We're going to start going ahead and lay our gaskets. So I've got them sitting right here. Now on this bottom gasket, this lip I'll save, but this lip I always trim off because it always gets in the way of the distributor and everything else. So we'll just kind of trim it off kind of flush there. And we're going to go ahead and install it, and then we'll be able to put our spacer on, then another gasket, then we'll trim it as well, and then the blower. So let's go ahead and get to stacking here. All right, let's go ahead and wipe off this excess Loctite because we don't need it where we're going, especially up here on the intake. We don't want to take any chances, right? So keep everything as clean as humanly possible. Starts getting expensive after a while if you do something wrong. All righty then. All right, let's get to laying some gaskets. I got to get some silicone too. All right, let's get to putting a bead of blackjack around this where this gasket's going to go, just to help a little bit with the sealing. You just need a tickle. All right, let's get our gasket put on. All right, I forgot, you got to be special, you got to be trimmed too. Let it go. All right, rub this down a little bit. All right, let's get our spacer. We're going to have to put a little more silicone on that. for the spacer. And I got silicone the spacer even. 1 second. All right, let's get this spacer. All right, perfect. Let's fill up this valley. Gonna be very generous. I do not want a boost leak. All right, let's go ahead and put our other blower gasket on. Smush it down, rub it in. All right, now let's go ahead and get it ready for the blower. All right. All right, let's go get that beast, put it on here. Boom. Easy does it. Easy does it. Where can I put my hoof? This is always real good on your paint, I can tell you that. That master cylinder will hold me. Oh, only 10 pounds. Woo! There we go. All right, now I gotta get back out of here. Ugh. Ain't that purty? I believe he actually polished it up a little bit for me. I don't think it was that shiny when it left out of here. I should have sent him all of it and told him to clean it up. All right, let's get this in its final home and start bolting it down. Good deal. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start getting this bolted down. I gotta put my throttle linkage on here because that attaches to the blower. Getting ready to start getting all these nuts and washers on here, and then we'll have to torque this down to spec. These poor little nuts are just plumb wore out. Probably should have ordered new ones, but we'll get them the next time. That's what I say every time there's a next time. I like to know what he polished that up with. That's not like Kathy's Windex kind of thing like what I use here. That is faux show. All right, we'll run these down and then we'll start torquing them in. Let's get going. All right, guys, got the blower all set, down, torqued down to spec, which is 12 pounds. This thing is all ready to go, dialed in, turning, which is more than it did when I took it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set you back up. We're going to go ahead and get the snout and all that installed, and then we're going to go ahead and start building this thing up in the air. So let me get you back over here and let's get back to work. All right, it's time for my favorite part. And if you know the smell, you know the smell. Gear oil. Gotta love it. Get some. right, there we go, guys. I got the carburetors installed. I got the carburetor hat bracket installed. Got everything tightened down, hooked up here. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is put the hat on. Then we'll go around and hook up the fuel lines. I still have to hook up the Stroud safety straps, button up a couple other little things. I gotta hook up the linkage. Yeah, just a couple other little things, and then we'll go from there. So I'll touch back with you in a minute. All right, let's go ahead and get this hat installed. Get on there. Good deal. Gotta love it. It's a shame that we're gonna do all this and just put him away for the year, but guess what? He'll be ready for us in April, when we take a few of these cars down to the Freedom Factory for the season opener. And hopefully we can let her rip tater chip. So if nothing else, we're ahead for next year. Which is all right, because we want to go ahead and get this car done so we can finish up Grimm. And then we got to go ahead and button up and start getting Shirley done, along with Monzilla. And then we're going to start another couple projects here before long. We'll show everybody. But again, we got to get all this stuff done first. I mean, they're all fun, don't get me wrong. But I always love starting something new. And I'm sure you guys enjoy watching. All right, let's get all this tightened down right quick and get back after it. Score. All right, guys, there we go. We are in there like swimwear. Everything is hooked up, dialed in, ready to go. All we got to do is fire it up, test it, break him in, let him get warm, and then take him out there to the streets of Mexico and test him out. But first, I got something I want to do. I bought a new boost gauge that I want to install. I generally run one right here at the top of the blower, but you know, I'm getting old, my eyes are bad, and I just can't see it. So I need to find a spot in here somewhere to mount it. But good night of living, I'm running out of real estate. So I want to get this boost gauge installed, but I need to find a spot to put it. So I'm going to get us set up in here with some lights, and we're going to see if we can get that mounted real quick. By then, everything under here, especially, you know, all that gasket sealer I put between, you know, the intake, the 2-inch risers, the blower, so on and so forth, that gives it plenty of time to dry. They actually recommend 24 hours. I consider overnight 24 hours. And then once we get him run, dialed in, see if he can spin these 295s over. We're not going to waste them, but we'll play around with them a little bit. And then, unfortunately, guys, we're going to bring him in here and put him away for the winter. There's really not a whole lot more I'm going to do with him. I'm going to do some stuff on the rear end and lower him down, but that'll be later on in the winter for a, you know, like a slow day project. Then we got to get the blower put on Grimm, but next is going to be Shirley. We're going to get her out here, going to get Squirt down here, and we're going to do some work on her, get her ready for paint. So we're going to put in some new filler panels for the front and the back, put a new fuel pump. I've actually got some pieces ordered for it, like, you know, she's missing a tooth right there. And then we're going to take some Quad Zero steel wool. We're going to clean up this chrome and these bumpers, just get her dolled up a little bit, and then we're going to have the daunting task of a couple days of just sanding all over her, getting her dolphin smooth, ready for a paint job. And we actually bought a vinyl top for this car, and Squirt and I have been talking. Do we want to put it back on there, or do we want to finish this out for paint? Y'all let me know in the comments. What do you think would look better? I personally think, you know, the nice, you know, blood, it's not blood red. It had the word in there. It's almost like a reddish maroon top, you know, and it's got the badges on it like this, so on and so forth. But I personally think it would look killer with the top back on it, but y'all let me know what you think. All right, cool. So let me get some lights set up. Let's get over here, get a boost gauge, put Noisey Cricket, and then if the weather holds, we'll go out there and have a little bit of fun. All right, guys, let's get this boost gauge open so we can go and try to get it knocked out real quick. See what all we got in here. All righty then. All right, what do we got? Typical gauge, you know, like with anything else. This stuff here, I wouldn't recommend using for nothing. This plastic, like refrigerant tubing, I prefer to use the copper. However, unfortunately, I don't have any here. So for now, we're going to go ahead and hook it up with that. And then, of course, we got our standard brass fittings and a light. So let's get all this over there and see if we can find a spot to mount it and go from there. All right, the fun part, and that's always getting in here, because I'm big boned and, you know, trying to squeeze in here is not always the easiest. All right, good deal. All right, now where to put this thing. I'm out of room in my little holder up here. Let me get some better light on the situation. Not sure how many of you still use these old treble hook lights like that one, but I still do because I'm an old fart. So I could mount something down here on the shifter, which wouldn't be too bad because I could take that over on the bench. You know, do something like this and then just spin the gauge around, which is what I'm kind of leaning towards because I can look down. I don't necessarily know if I want anything up here. That'd be kind of I don't have room to put it up here without, you know, missing some of my other gauges. I got another switch here I got to put in for later, and I'll get to that on another episode. If I get it any closer to here, I'm going to hit it with my hand when I'm out there in the pit. So I'm kind of leaning towards something like that right there. I think that would look pretty good. That, and it would be out of the way. So let's try that right quick. All right, guys, this escalated in a hurry. So I got my shifter tore apart, and I've got my cover off. So we're going to take this and the gauge over here to the workbench. And we're going to see about, you know, mating these two together. And I got a new spot for it. I'll show you that once we get over there. But yeah, this is a standard like B&M shifter cover. But this was done up all real cool with lasers and had my name put in it on both sides by our friends up here at Cope Racing Transmissions. And as you guys know, you know, that's what transmission we run in all of our cars is from Mr. John Cope. So go over and check him out for your transmission needs. I assure you, you won't be disappointed. So let's get this over there. Let's get it mated together. All right, guys, got you back over on the workbench. So essentially, this is how the shifter cover is going to work, right? So this is going to be the front, and this will be the back closest to me. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I was going to mount it kind of straight up and down like this. But I think what I'm going to do other than that is I'm just going to turn it at a slight angle like so. That way I can see it a little bit easier from the driver's seat. Plus, it's going to be out of the way of everything. The only downside to it is going to be running the tube. You know, we'll have to, you know, I like all my stuff clean looking, but we'll have to come up through the front, attach it somewhere down here, and then shoot it up the dash, you know, and then through the firewall and into the blower. But for, you know, being driver friendly, I think that there's going to be the perfect spot. Now, I could just, you know, self-tapper that in there, but I'd rather not do that. Let's see if we can get some small hardware and mount it permanent and go from there. So let me see what I can find right quick. All right, guys, I spent about 20 minutes over digging through my bolt drawer, and I found 2 little nuts and bolts here and 2 little lock washers. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take this assembly apart, get it mounted to my housing here, then we'll get this all put back together. Of course, I've got an assortment of nut drivers for something like this. Cool. Let's go ahead and get this slapped together and see what it looks like. All righty then, let's do this. Before we get too crazy, let's make sure it's how I want it. So we're going to go something like so. I'm hoping these bolts aren't going to be too long. I have a feeling they're going to be too big to begin with. I'm hoping they don't hit anything within the shifter. We got to, we'll get the old, you know, the old Dremel or something out. Cut them off. But let's see what we can do here right quick. All right. So I'm thinking something like that right there. So let's do something like this right here. Stay still. Perfect. So there's our 2 holes we're going to drill. So let's drill those out right quick. Boom. I need to find a job. Look at this. Even got a drill over here. All righty. You guys know me. I'm king of the Christmas tree bit here. Hopefully we can do this without tearing up this housing. Or drilling through my hand. That wouldn't be good. Is it big enough? Oh, come on. We need to go a tickle more. Tickle more. That ought to be good enough. Oh, no. That was still wet and I lost my paint. All right, hold on. We can fix it. We can fix it. There's one. Nice and easy. Beautiful. All right. Now my concern is, not gonna lie, is I'm gonna have to open these up just a tickle. And that's what I knew was gonna happen. It's gonna wanna whack, rip my hand off. Might just have to finagle them in there kind of like so. Just thread them in is what I'm saying. Thread them in. I mean, like it was meant to be there. All right, see this other one? I'm hoping these aren't too, I mean, we're gonna find out. They're way too long, but it's what I got to work with. I'd like to get y'all in here nice and deep like and watch, but I do 99% of everything down here by myself, so having a camera person just isn't in the budget, you know what I'm saying? Get in there. Wonder if I can just shove it in there. There we go. Just had to motivate it a little bit. All right. Get in there. All right, now we're doing something. Now we're doing something. All right, so kind of like that. And then we'll get her in here like so. Go home now. Come on, we're not doing this. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Even got it on a slight angle. So it's kind of, so that gauge will be looking at me a little bit more. All right, let's see if we can get these lock washers and nuts in here. Tighten her down. And pray that it's not, these aren't too long. All right, we're doing something, we're doing something. And then we're gonna take this over there and test fit it, obviously, to make sure that this is gonna fit before we start putting the gauge and the tubing and all that jazz on there. If not, I'm gonna have to go see my friends at the hardware store, and we all know how I hate that. I hate going to the hardware store, I hate it. I needed to get a hold of like boltsandnuts.com or something like that and just buy one of their automotive kits, but it's like $5 grand. You know, and then they just, you know, they send you what you use back over here. Not saying I'm not gonna do it, I'm just not gonna do it right now. I'll tell you what, the gas I waste going up to the hardware store and back will pay for itself. I know that. Faux show. All right, guys, got everything in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up with this wrench. I did go over and test fit it on the car, so we are good to go. Now it's just a meticulous thing of just, you know, getting in here and getting everything tight. All right. We don't need to like bend it home. That turned out pretty good. So we got that done. There's the bolts, you know, inside and out. So let's go ahead and get our gauge put in, because I promise you, at least for me, because, you know, I'm hefty, I would rather assemble as much as I can on the bench than rather than like, you know, being a contortionist in the car, especially around that cage, trying to do it. So now how should we do it? Do we want the gauge, you know, sitting true? Or should maybe we angle it just a tickle so we're sitting in the car? Maybe like this. Put the 0 up here. That way when we're sitting there looking at it like so, right? I think we're gonna do that. I think we'll put it in at that angle. That way we can read it, you know, out of like our peripherals, if that makes sense. So let's do that. I've got something on here. It's driving me. Get out of there. All right. So let's do this right quick. Remount this back up. Like so. Then we'll get it set where we want. And then we're going to go ahead and run our tubing. Get out of there. We got to get this car done. Get this out of the way so we can go get more cars. I've actually got one out on the trailer I got to bring in here. And then we've got to head out and go get another one. All right, we've got that kind of just set there. So let's get this set where we want it. I'm thinking somewhere like right there. Let me get this tightened down and then I'll show you what I got going on. Now, I don't know how that missed. What happened here? That plumb come clean through there. What are you doing to me here, Fred? Did you get bent somehow, buddy? Wow, what happened? How'd this get bent? All right, let's try this now, for crying out loud. Is this gonna work? It is raining. I was hoping this weather would hold today. We could get out and do a burnout and cricket. But hey, you know what? We can do a shot burnout. We ain't scared. We ain't scared. We'll do a shot burnout. Ain't no more than sweeping the floor. That rhymes. Ain't no more than sweeping the floor. All right. Tighten these down. All right, I'm digging that. I think that looks good. So this is setting in the car, so the zero is going to be over here and tilted at me, so we're going to be able to watch it. I like the way that looks. I think that is sweet. So let's go ahead and get our tubing run, and we'll just let it dangle. And then all I got to do is drill a hole in the firewall, get a fitting put in the blower, and yeah. So let me go get the tubing. Alrighty then, we're back. Let's get this open. If you've ever used this, you know how big of a pain in the butt it is. I generally try to heat it up a tickle because it does this crap right here. It's a Slinky. Slinky, Slinky, the wonderful toy. Y'all remember those? I just try to stretch it out. So let's get our fittings open here. And yeah. We don't want to lose our little ferrules. That would be bad. That'd be real bad. All right, so we'll put our little nut on first, then our ferrule. It's like downtown. There we go. Get a little wrench and tighten her up. I'm gonna have to go get the right wrench. Now you don't want to goose these down super tight because you'll end up crushing that ferrule through the actual tubing itself. So I just like getting them good and snug. This will work just because it's handy. Probably too big for what we're doing here, but it'll hold everything in place. All right, that's all I want to do right there. So we are good to go run this through the firewall to our blower. But first thing we got to do is we got to get over here and remove the old gauge out of the blower, which is probably buried by now underneath wires and everything else. And then we'll have to put in a new fitting, get this all final installed, and then run this through the firewall to our new fitting into our blower. And we should be in there like swimwear. All right, guys, before we head over there, I'll just give you like it up close and personal. So this is how this shift cover is going to be setting. The shifter cover is going to be setting. And then I'll be looking at it from this angle. So the zero is actually sitting right there. And I'll be able to like look cockeyed at it or look off to the side right quick and see where our boost is setting. But I think that is not only going to look good aesthetically in the car, but it's going to be functional for me as well. So let's go over here to the car right quick and see about getting this old gauge off. All right, guys, hindsight being 2020, I probably should have done this before I put all this together. But I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have a gauge sitting right here on the intake. So we're going to have to thread that gauge out right here where my finger's at. And I know the lighting stinks, but it's right there. So let's see if we can get this gauge out real quick. And we'll run our new fitting and our tubing. And we'll have to bring it over here somewhere through this firewall. And there are holes everywhere right here. And we'll have to put some loom on it, obviously, to keep it from getting tore up. But let's get this in there right quick. All right, guys, I'm trying to get this gauge out of here. And boy, am I regretting this decision a ton of not taking this stupid thing out when I had everything apart. But again, you live and you learn, right? So we're going to just try to get it fished out of here. I think once it's out, it's not going to be that bad. Just have to put the new fitting in. Just idiot, dude. Get this, my big meat hooks in here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Just in one of them bad spots. All right, hold on. I'm out of there. All right, good deal. All right, so there it is. All right, so let's get our new fitting, put it in there, and then we'll get our tubing hooked up and run everything back into the car and get this dialed in. All right, guys, I don't know if you can see that hole down there, but we got our new footing. We're going to go ahead and get this thing threaded in. We'll go in and get this shifter and all this put back together. We'll run this tubing through the firewall, get it connected there, check everything, and then we should be able to fire this old boy up and see what happens. Get in there. Good deal. All right, cool, guys. So we got the gauge all installed, shifter all final installed, got the tubing running through the firewall. If I'm being honest with you, I really don't care for that, but it's good enough for now for testing. We'll get some copper tubing, run it all nice and professional up through there. I know it sounds like kind of crazy for a burnout car, but, you know, again, I just like my stuff dialed in. So let me go outside, show you what we've done on the intake, and we'll go from there. All right, there's our tubing coming through the firewall, right into the new fitting on the intake, and that gauge is all hooked up, ready to go. So now is to go ahead, I'm gonna do a nut and bolt check real quick, get the batteries hooked up, check the fuel, get it primed, and we're gonna fire this old boy up, get him up to temp. We'll see what happens from there. It is absolutely pouring outside, so we're not gonna be able to go out on the streets of Mexico. But, you know, I just cleaned all this up, but I'm willing to leave a path of rubber back here to do a burnout test and check and see how much boost we build. So let me get you set up and we're gonna have a little bit of fun here. All right, guys, let's see what happens here. All right, we got water pump, we got power, neutral. First, I'm gonna do is bump it, just make sure this blower moves okay. Okay, we got blower, we're good. All right, let's see if he's gonna fire. We're gonna have to juice him pretty good here. It's been a minute. Let's find out. Look at that, fired right up. Blower's still working. All right, the cool part about it is I looked down at the gauge. He was running about 14, 15 pounds of boost, and that was probably half throttle. And I can tell you right now, I doubt if he's even half throttle, and that's the best he's run in a minute. So that blower is in there like swimwear. Let me open this door because, golly, for some reason it's smoky in here. Yeah, look how miserable it is out there now, but good night of living. Look at that cloud. Isn't that cool? All right, guys, look, man, that's been a fun episode. I love it. We got our boy back. I promise we'll get out there and run him around just in a little bit when this weather clears up. It is coming up on winter time. So, yeah, we're going to get him out. I want to test the transmission out a little bit more. And then he's getting put away for winter. And like I said, Shirley is coming up next. We're going to get her ready to go. Some new body panels, so on and so forth, and get her painted. Then we're going to throw a blower and all that on Graham. And that is going to wake that car way up. It's going to be insane. Golly, I got to step outside. Woo! Golly. And then we'll get going on the other cars. I've got a couple coming into the shop that I'm really excited for. One of them I've been wanting to build for a very long time, and that is a rat rod. So I cannot wait to start on that. Plus, Homer 3.0. I know I've been teasing that for months, but it is about time. Plus Hot Mess. So anyway, I'm going to try to keep the fire department from coming here to the house. We're going to get back after it. Look, guys, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate all the support, all the new subscribers, everybody coming in. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to just go ahead and just tap that little button. It's 100% free. And again, we'll catch y'all next time. BRG out.